Hello everyone, we're Group 11 and we're presenting on Volkswagen emission scandal, which is a key case in business ethics. So our presentation is structured around 5 sections, and I will start with the motivation. So basically in 2015, Volkswagen Group used software to fake low emissions during tests while emitting up to 40 times the legal limit in real-world driving. And apparently, the impact of this case is still felt today, which can be evidenced by German court convictions of 4 executives in this year. Also, the scandal led to tougher environmental regulations and promoted ethical accountability. Now, my teammate will dive into details.
Now, let me introduce what happened to the Volkswagen from 2009 and 2015. At that time, diesel vehicles were popular in the US market because of their strong power and low fuel consumption. Volkswagen was also trying to expand their sales of diesel vehicles in the US market, aiming to deal with the strict US emission standards and maintain their low price. From 2009, Volkswagen's engineers began to install chatting software in the engines of some vehicles. When the vehicle was identified as being on the test branch, specific measures were taken to reduce exhaust emissions. But after the test was over, it returned to normal. In fact, as early as 2013, the situation had already been discovered by some non-governmental organizations. At first, Volkswagen tried to attribute the pollution of exhaust emission to some technical problems. It was not until 2015, in the face of the EPA's accusation, Volkswagen finally admitted mistake and apologized to the public, acknowledging that it had deliberately deceived the US government's air pollution test for many years. Finally, the scandal caused the huge losses of the 11 million vehicles that might have had problems. Only over 500,000 vehicles were recalled in the US. In addition, the sale price of the company was also affected by the scandal in 2015, and the CEO of the Volkswagen was also forced to resign in September of this year. By December 2019, Volkswagen had paid an economic cost of 30 billion for this scandal.
Let's explore why the scandal occurred. First, Volkswagen was driven by an aggressive goal to become the world's #1 automaker. However, their clean diesel technology could not realistically meet high-performance expectations, cost target, and strict emission standards all at once. Faced with this gap, cheating became a deliberate shortcut. Beyond strategy, there was an institutional value. 3 factors stand out: corporate culture. Silent rules developed where activists sacrifice to meet targets. Top-down pressure discouraged open dissent. Governance, management prioritize short-term gains, falling into a classic principal-agent problem, where leadership interests diverge from long-term shareholder value. And regulatory environment. Europe lacks an outdated testing standard, creating a permissive environment, especially when compared to the more rigorous US EPA oversight. Let's look at the consequence of the scandal. For Volkswagen, the company faced financial heavy losses, with fines, recalls, and settlements costing over 30 billion euros, and its stock price plummeted. Perhaps more damaging was the reputational collapse. The German engineering brand built over decades suffered a severe blow. In response, the company was forced into a strategic pivot, accelerating a full-scale transition to electric vehicle. For the automotive industry, it triggered a major technology shift, effectively diminishing the future of diesel passenger cars and pushing the entire industry's R&D focus toward electrification and hydrogen. It also led to a global testing standard upgrade, with new, stricter real-world driving tests being adopted worldwide. For society and regulation, it caused a crisis of trust, with the public becoming far more skeptical of large corporation and environmental marketing claims like clean diesel, and it turn into a new regulatory era.
Okay, the next verse is the conclusion. The Volkswagen emission scandal has many serious issues in terms of the business ethics. The first one, deceiving the consumers. Consumers buy the Volkswagen products because they trust the brand, but are ultimately deceived by the company and by high-polluting vehicles. This behavior of the company greatly damages the interest of the consumers. And the second one, violating social responsibilities. Volkswagen should have led the automobile industry towards the environmental protection. However, it gained competitive advantage in the market through the cheating, leading the environmental pollution issues, causing serious harm to public health and violating its corporate social responsibility. And the last one is neglecting ethics and law by enterprise. Volkswagen violation of the regulations by installing substandard emissions software for profit not only endangers the environment and consumer health, but also demonstrates the company's disregard for the laws and ethics.
Hello, let me introduce policy recommendation part. The Volkswagen scandal was not merely a case of corporate fraud. It was a systemic failure of regulatory oversight, corporate governance, and ethical engineering. Effective policy must address all these areas to prevent a recurrence and restore public trust. So before giving some recommendations, it's necessary to clarify the guiding principle of policy. The first is prevention over punishment. While penalties are necessary, the primary goal should be create systems that make cheating impossible to conceal. Then second is transparency and independence. The last one is integrate system view. That means addressing the entire ecosystem about software, hardware, testing procedure, corporate culture, and whistleblower protection. Okay, then let's focus on detailed policy recommendations. They could be divided into three parts: oversight layer, corporate layer, and human layer. In terms of oversight, the regulators need to mandate real-world surveillance, implement software scrutiny, and fund more independent testing agencies with the technical expertise to perform independent audits and surprise inspection on vehicles from assembly lines and dealerships. Then, let's talk about corporate layer. It includes these three: establish senior management liability, reform compensation structures, empower independent compliance officer. To be more specific, enact laws that hold executives personally and criminally liable for fraud they knew or should have known about. Then tie bonus and long-term incentives to ethical audits, not just financial targets. Furthermore, mandate a compliance officer role that reports directly to the board of directors. Moreover, human layer is also an important part. Enact robust global laws that protect whistleblowers from retaliation, including guaranteed anonymity, job protection, and legal support. In addition, offer significant monetary rewards like percentage of fines collected to whistleblowers whose information lead to successful enforcement. That's all. Thanks for your listening. We are Group 11.